All right, Ines Street, Nassau, about to do a presentation to a group of students, a maritime presentation, just to see if I could get them interested in maritime. So let's see how this goes.
Okay, our next presenter is Captain Glenn Bean from Bahamas Maritime Bahamas 8. It's Maritime Bahamas.
Bahamas Maritime.
Bahamas Maritime. That's right. And he will speak to you about they deal with what captains on
Maritime. Well,
ships. So he'll give you more. He'll give you more.
Seafarers on board.
Okay.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. I am so pleased to be here. This is my first time. I didn't know anything about this Ines Street back to school operations until Ms. Bridget Seymour invited me. Thank you very much. So happy to be here. And she told me in a nutshell, that she just wanted me to let some of the younger ones know what are the opportunities in maritime, what they need to do to get to work in the maritime sector. Now, what is maritime? Maritime, for the most part, is ships sailing on the seas, and not the little yachts. Well, they part of it. Not really the fishing boats, but ships that go from country to country to carry either cargo or people. We call them cruise ships. You have what they call passenger ships or cruise ships. They go around the world taking people to have fun and see destinations. Now the other ones are the cargo ships, but the tankers, but the container ships, you would know about what they call bulk carrier. They carry rock, sand, cement, that type of thing. So they take commodities around the world, and over 90% of goods that go around the world are done by ships. Now what happened with these ships? They need people to work on them. They need crew. And in the whole world, they have over 250,000 people working on these ships because they got over 50,000 ships. So they got over 250,000 crew for these ships. So that means there's a lot of jobs out there. Now, who get these jobs? Anybody could get these jobs. But very young people, I want to ask the young people how much money they like to make when they get adults. How much money you like to make? You ain't know. How much? $1 million? $1 million before you dead, or $1 million a day? How much do you like to make in one day? I mean, how much your parents make in one day? You don't know? Well, all you know is they paying the bills. Okay. So we have people that make, on average, if you make, say, $300 a day, right? Or let's say $100 a day, which means they make $700 a week. So at the end of the month, you're making $2,500. That's like kind of average in the Bahamas, eh? Somebody make $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and they together pay all the bills in the house. Come down lower, $1,500 a month. What the average is like? $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Okay. Now we got people in the maritime sector, and the ones who I know make a lot of money, they make over $1,000 a day, right? With these young kids, who will make $1,000 a day? Yeah? Okay, you know who make $1,000? You see them cruise ships that come into Prince George Wharf? We have the Hemans who go on them, and they drive them in Prince George Wharf, and then they drive them back out. They can't come in out without the Bahamian on board telling them how to get their ship in the port. They are known as marine pilots. You know the pilots who fly the plane? But these are the pilots who drive cruise ships. They only go out there in the ocean in a little small pilot boat. They go on board the ship, and they control the ship in the harbor. And when it's time for the ship to leave, they drive out there, they walk on board the ship, go up on the bridge, on the wheelhouse where all the controls are, and they take the ship out. When the ship reaches the ocean, they got a little boat called a pilot boat that pick them up and bring them back so they go home to their wife, right? And they are known as pilots, and they make over $1,000 a day. But what do you have to do to become a pilot? Anybody can imagine what you need to do if you're going to take them ships, go on board them ships and bring them in? What do you have to do? You got to go to school, but first of all, you got to know what it is to be on board a ship, to drive a ship. So So you got to wake on board the ship as an officer, right? And when you're waking on board the ship, you're seeing how the ship operates and all the rest of that. And then, if you wake on the ship, let's say you ain't too smart, right? You're going through school and you play with the girls and you was wasting time. So you ain't got all them GCEs and them kind of things. But you could still wait on the boat. And when you wait on those big ships, what happened? You going all around the world while you're waking. So you're seeing Paris and England and Australia. You're seeing the whole world for free. And guess what? You're not only seeing it for free. While you're on that ship waking, and when they go in them places and you go ashore and you get to see the place, they paying you. And they feeding you every day. And they not only feeding you every day, they giving you uniform to wear, which you ain't got paid for. So the reality is you waking on this ship, going all over the world for free, eating all the good food, because those ships have good food, right? And at the same time, you saving your money, because they paying you over $1,000 every month. Like my good friend in the back, you say, $2,000 is kind of high. So let's say they only paying you $1,000 a month. Now you sign up an 8-month contract. You don't have to spend no money. You ain't got to buy no food. You see in the world for free. You wear up their uniform, washing on the ship. Everything free. Tide, everything free. And when you sign off 8 months later, out of $8,000, you might have spent, let's say you spend $2,000, right? You spend $2,000 because you want to buy some, well, when you get a little older, you might drink beers and no more sodas. You buy a little stuff. So you end up with $6,000 when you come off the ship. Now you come back home to Nassau with $6,000 in the bank. How much of your friends could make $6,000 in 8 months that they'll have in the bank? Because if they're working in Nassau, they got to pay for bus, they got to pay for lunch, they got to pay to carry the girlfriend out to the movie, they got to pay for everything. So they don't save much money. They might have $1,000 in the bank after 8 months. But with $6,000, and you say you want a car, you go to the bank and say, I have $6,000 down payment, I need a car. That's more than enough. So after your first trip, you can have a car. And guess what? You're only 18, 19 years old. You could buy yourself a new car at 19 years old. How much people you know in this community who, when they're 19, they could go to the bank and their parents ain't gonna help them, they could put down enough money to buy a brand new car. That don't happen too often. Sometimes they get wait till they're 21, 22, right? Well, 30 in some cases, 40 in some cases. To buy a brand new car, you might get a little second hand, something. But you could get a brand new car after your first trip. And then after you do this for about 5 years, let's imagine now, you're making $8,000 to $10,000 you're saving every year. After 5 years, you get $40,000 to $50,000 in the bank. You know what you could do with that? That's down payment for a house, eh? So you now 23, 24, you don't have your brand new car, but now you get enough money in the bank, you could now go and get a brand new house. How much young people at age 23, 24 could go without even being married, buy their own house? You could do that? I know you could, because you're going to be a boatman, right? That's what I'm talking about. So this is what maritime is all about, and this is what maritime could represent for our country, the Bahamas. Although, and the thing about it is, they need to know how much money your parents making, or if your daddy dead, or how you come up and you have to go to school barefoot. They want to know none of that, you know. All they want to know is you ready to sail the world, and you could understand how to throw the rope and do what you have to do. Once you're ready to do that, and we got some institutions, even right here in the Bahamas. We got one course, our key called LJM, or Lowell J. Mortimer Institution. They train people how to go on board ship to work as engineers, as deckhands, as navigators. They train, so you even ain't got to go away to learn how to do that. And once you get that certification from that training, and they got vehement companies who will even sponsor you if you're interested in doing that. So at the end of the day, maritime is a job for the world that any one of us as a young person, and I say young, I ain't talking about no young by age, you know, you can be young in spirit and still do maritime. Because The longer you stay on the sea, the more healthy you'll be, right? You breathe in that fresh sea air. That's better than being in here breathing in the regular air. So that's my presentation. Anybody have any questions before I sign off? How could you sign up? They have an institution called Bahamas Maritime Cadet Corps. Miss Bridget will have the details. She already know. Miss Bridget, 1 second please, darling. I have a question. The question is, how do you sign up? How do you sign up to get involved in maritime as a deckhand? I was telling them you already have a link with the Bahamas Maritime Cadet Corps. So they could get the contact from you if they want their child to go into that program. And then eventually they could start sailing on international trips. So, at your age, you look like you were what, 19? And unfortunately, what they like to do is they like to catch people from before they're like 25. I mean, even if you're like almost 30, because they don't want to train you up and you get so old you can hardly lift the rope. And so they only had you on their boat for 5 years and then they don't train you up in time for you to retire, right? So they try to catch you from an early age, even before you decide you want to be married. Because sometimes people decide I want to be married, but I don't want to be away from my family for 8 months at a time, right? So they could do that before they get married. And when they don't get married, they could start taking on jobs like driving the pilot boats and eventually becoming a pilot, and they don't have to go to sea. They can still be with their family every day, but they're in the maritime field still making money because they have that experience and the exposure to help them to be able to do that. Yes, sir. Question. Don't you have your hand up? Yes, darling. Go ahead. What you want to ask me? You want to sing a song? What you want to do? She ain't sure. She ain't sure she have a question. Only if it's a maritime song. Okay, so is there any more questions? Well, I'll be here for another half hour to an hour or so, talking with my good buddy, Mr. Clare, because we got plenty to talk about. And I would thank you all for your cooperative participation and listening to my boring topic. And like I say, you could always reach me through this good young lady, Bridget here. She know how to reach me, and she know how to reach the Bahamas Maritime Cadet Corps. So you all have the link. Please try and encourage as many kids as you could, because there's a world out there full of jobs for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain.